Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Resident Evil 2 Claire A. In the last part, we ended off as Sherry because for some reason she went off without Claire. And now we're going to sidetrack ourselves very briefly into this room. This room's entirely optional in Claire A. And the only reason I'm going in here is because we can get some grenade rounds. And I'm running kind of low on those, so might as well. And with that, this Sherry section is more or less over. All we have to do now is backtrack to where Claire was. Also, getting chased down by two dogs in this game is honestly kind of terrifying because... that. You can have a lot of close calls very, very easily.
Claire! Are you there?
Sherry, are you okay? Did you find your dad?
Yes, I'm okay. But I couldn't find him. But I did find something else for you. Here! Here's another.
Thanks, sweetie. Now, why don't you come over here? I want you to stay with me.
Claire! I can't reach the ventilation hole anymore. But don't worry, I'll find another way. I can take care of myself.
Wait, Sherry, come back! Sherry! Sherry!
And now we're on our own. And for some reason I always have trouble picking up these grenade rounds and key. You know, I have to wonder on the development side what the whole point of that section was, because that could have just been a Claire section, but they decided to make it a Sherry section. I suppose to make us feel bad for her, because if you check where the equivalent of Claire's lockpick is with Sherry, there's a picture of her, her father, and her mother. So I guess that was to make us find out about that. I have no idea. It's kind of strange. Either way, now we're back in the little basement area, and the dog's now been replaced by lickers. By the way, lickers are very weak against acid rounds. But we want to head into the autopsy room above all others because there is something very important in here that we need to get into another area. And it's in this little shelf. Well then, that's foreboding. Red card key. Now every single one of the bodies in here is up and at 'em. I wouldn't recommend using a grenade launcher because you have plenty of handgun rounds, but if you need to, feel free to, because there's like 6 or 7 zombies in this very enclosed area. Though honestly, this room isn't too hard. If you're good on triggers and knowing how to keep zombies away from you, you honestly shouldn't have that much of a problem. I don't recommend wasting your acid rounds in here though if you have them equipped. Save those for lickers. The handgun and grenade rounds are more than enough for this. And as with most boss fights in the game, you'll actually know when all the zombies are dead because, well, to put it bluntly, the music stops. Though, in some cases, they might not actually all be dead. I've had one case in specific I know of where the zombies were on the floor, the music stopped, and one of them was still alive just waiting for me to walk over him. Anyway, we got the red card key there. That allows us to enter that door I powered up last part, so let's check that out. But first, I hate lickers. They deserve to be dead. And now we can access the arms storage. This room is one of the first cases of the game that you can encounter that has zapping. Zapping is an in-game mechanic that means if you do something as Claire, or if you do something in the A scenario, it'll affect something in the B scenario. In this room's case, in the back there is this locker, which has a submachine gun and a side pack. The machine gun's a very powerful weapon with not much ammo in it in terms of refills, and a side pack. The side pack gives you 2 extra inventory spaces. If you take one as one character, it won't be there for the other. I'm not taking either as Claire because I generally like saving one or both for the B scenario. But if you want to, I recommend taking the submachine gun because it's the best weapon Claire could get in her arsenal. However, it will lower your rank upon using it, so win-lose situation there. Either way, with that, we're actually done in the basement area. We never have to go back there, ever, really. So now we can fully explore the RPG, because I believe we also got the last, suit key. Also, if I recall, in one of those lockers to the right there, there is some ammo for you. But hey, acid rounds, yay. And before I check that note, let's actually combine those. Alright, let's see what we got here. Watchman's Diary. August 11th, I finally had the chance to see blue skies for the first time in ages, but it did little to lift my spirits. I was reprimanded by the chief for neglecting my duties while I was up in the clock tower. The only thing I still don't understand... The chief seemed more concerned about the fact I was up on the tower rather than I was neglecting my duties. Why was access to the tower prohibited in the first place anyway? September 5th. I recently talked to the old man who works in the scrapyard out back. His name is Thomas. He's a quiet man and really seems to enjoy chess. He even went as so far to design a special key and lock engraved with chess pieces on them for one of the doors in the disposal yard. We made plans to play chess tomorrow night. I can't help but wonder how good he is. One thing that's been bothering me about him is that he's always scratching himself. Does he have some sort of skin disease, or is he just rude? September 9th. Thomas was a much better player than I had imagined. I used to think of myself as a fairly decent player, but he did a pretty good job of humbling me. The only thing I can imagine that can match his skills in chess is his appetite. All the guy did talk about was food. Throughout the entire game. He sounded fairly healthy, but he didn't look quite right. I wonder if he's okay. By the way, text scroll sucks. September 12th. I was supposed to play another game of chess with Thomas, but we had to cancel because he hasn't been feeling too well. He stopped by to see me, but I told him to go back and rest because he literally looked like The Walking Dead. Ooh. He insisted that he was just fine, but I could tell he was having problems. Come to think of it, I haven't been feeling too good of myself lately. Itchy, scratchy? Itchy, tasty? I think so. Though thankfully nowhere near as mimetic as Itchy Tasty from Resident Evil 1. By the way, fun fact, in terms of behind-the-scenes recording, the notes are the worst thing for commentary because I constantly screw up at reading. I'm just speaking of reading, I'm really glad because I'm finally done with English classes forever, and that makes me feel so good. Done with math, too, which, that's a load off my back. It's all fairly easy, well not easy, fun stuff from here, I should say more accurately. Though I have to do web design, which I haven't done since sophomore year of high school. Or was that freshman year? Actually, no, that was freshman year, wasn't it? And it was not fun. Though, mind you, I still have a lot of summer to go before that happens, and I'm using this to the best of my ability. Ugh. Either way, I'm trying to remember where we are heading next with that key. Oh, I know. You might remember the room back where I killed a lot of zombies near the what's it called? Main hall. On the lower floor. We're actually right above it right now, I believe. We are heading back to that because there's a hallway branch that I didn't go in there now, but we can fully access now that I have these two keys on me. Also, don't forget to bring the lighter. It's actually the last required use of the lighter for Claire, too, so might as well bring it, because you need it. Yeah. Though there's actually, I think I'm taking the longer route to it now that I think about it, because, let me think. But this requires 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screen transitions to get to where I want. The other way, which would have been through the other door, would have taken 1, 2, 3. So, yeah, take the other path into the room I'm heading towards. It's a random little bunch of outside. I don't get why that's there from a building design point. I'm not going to question Raccoon City, because honestly, this place is pretty stupid. Helps that it's run by an umbrella, mostly, so, yeah. Either way, yeah, this is where we're heading towards. I say either way a lot nowadays, huh. It's one of my verbal tics, along with keyword as you know it. Think is a keyword as you know. Everyone has at least one of those in my experience, so I don't feel too bad about that. Not allowed. There's actually a fair amount of zombies here. By the way, fun fact, if you look on the very left of the screen there's red text that looks like backwards REDR. That is actually Red Rum. Random reference to The Shining, but I'll take it. I don't know why they did that. Mind you, I love The Shining. Though, I still think neither the movie or the TV series or the miniseries are that good. The book's the best one, but that's usual for a lot of people. Either we want to head in here first. There was another door that I passed on the way here, but I want to head in here first because it allows me to grab this bunch of handgun bolts without having any, let's say, issues. And now we're going to head into that other room. That room at the end of the hallway, that is our ultimate goal here, but I want to get this done first because there's another important thing in here. Plus, it allows me to discard this key, having more inventory space. And that's pretty good. Also in here on the table, there is a cord. In the room where we first encountered the liquor and the room where we got out of the basement, there were some panels that you could put this cord on. That'll prevent zombies from entering that room later. I'm not going to use it because, honestly, it's not too useful either way. I can avoid those rooms in the certain parts, but if you want to use it, it's there. And here's the yellow plate we need to get past that certain section. So now we have 3 out of our 4 goals. Also, run. Yeah, that liquor comes out of literally nowhere. Though, if you enter the other room now that the liquor's in that room, it'll show up in the other one as well, because, you know, it's just a common jump away. And before I actually head in that room, I'm going to grab this red herb, because red herbs, there's not many of them in the game. I think there's only like 3, 4, 5 of them. So you'll want to use them as best as you can, and make sure you always combine them with the green. Oh, hi, liquors. I'm actually used to there not being any enemies to here. For different reasons, though. You'll see in the B scenario eventually. Liquors are a bit inconsistent, though. Sometimes they take 2 shots of the bow gun, sometimes they take 3. Oh, it's a film. Nice. A picture of a man on a carriage. Something's written on the wheel. Light the queen, the king, and the jack. Then the carriage will start running. That wheel on there is actually a cog, and it's our next goal. We need to light this thing up, by the way, if you check the bottom right, left of the screen. On the desk, there's a first aid spray. We need the lighter so we can light this thing on fire. Then we need to light the king, the queen, the king, and the jack. Though, I'm not sure if you have to do them in this exact order. I always do middle, right, left. Maybe you have to do it like this. I've honestly never checked. That's one strange key system there. But Resident Evil's fond of these kind of puzzles, so I'll just let it pass this time. And now we have the cogwheel, which we need to do something else. Obviously, it's a key hunt. What do you expect? And with that, we have everything we need to get the last piece of the puzzle we need. You might remember I got half of a blue plate last time. Or was it 2 parts ago? Either way. In order to get the second half, you need that cogwheel along with the crank we got earlier. So I'm going to go get that out of storage, I believe, right now. Along with this green herb. And then we'll head in that general direction. Also, sorry about that musical cut there. Frequently throughout the game, and both scenarios, by the way, my computer's sound was going on the fritz, so you'll randomly hear either little static bursts, the music either suddenly stop, or just restart in general, and I apologize for that. I have no idea what caused it. I know for a fact I've fixed it, though, because I've been doing some test recordings for another game on the PlayStation, and nothing like this has happened. Okay, that was kind of creepy. I actually never noticed that before. In this very song, in this soundtrack right here, there's a very light creaking of wood that I've never noticed before because I've never played this game with headphones in before. So that actually, I thought that was my room for a second there. Ah. And this is about everything you need for what I'm about to do. Though at this point, you might as well just bring the handgun along because you're not going to be using the bow gun for much longer. Our next destination is actually the library, but since I have that film, I'm taking the long way around instead of the short way. Yay. There's actually not that many films in the game. I think there's only 2 or 3. 4 if you count the secret one. But I wouldn't be surprised if I still missed files, because I always miss files in a Resi game. I still think Resident Evil 4 has the most interesting files, though. 5s were kind of boring. Though some of the ones in Remake were very useful because they pointed you in directions of some puzzles, more so than any others had at that point in the series. And I forget how well Zero did with them. And let's see what this develops into. Oh, dead guy. Pictured in front of the Arucus Taylor. Regressed into a zombie within 2 hours. Subject repeatedly complained about severe agitation of the epidermis in addition to feelings of nausea. This happened up to the moment he lost consciousness. Pictured by R. Lambert. Probably Robert. So that's a bit more on the zombification. They never really go into detail about how the zombification process works until maybe Resident Evil Remake, I believe. Maybe 3, one of the two. I know they don't go into the process that makes zombies turn into lickers until Remake, V-Act. Because if a zombie is a zombie long enough, or even if they get close to death again, I believe it is, that's what transforms them into a licker. However, there's an in-between state that Remake introduces that's technically been there in terms of lore from the start, and that's the Crimson Heads, which suck. But Remake has a lot of interesting stuff in it, though I try to avoid Crimson Heads as much as possible. Because they are brutal, and I forgot I left that zombie alive, actually. And now we're back where we met Leon. You know, I don't think I've ever seen a police station with this much open room and at the same time very closed-in areas at the same time. Those are the zombies the cord would have prevented from entering. If you may have noticed, to the left of them, there were little panel on both screens there were panels that were missing part of their cord. That's what you use it on. You can only use it on one, though, and I believe it only works for the scenario you install it in. So, kind of sucks to suck, but oh well. And now we're on the highest you can actually ever get in the game, technically. In terms of the RPD. Yeah, floor 3 is actually very tiny. It's only like the top of the library in this room. Well, these 2 rooms. And now we're in the clock tower. Use the crank here. Just, yeah, square hole. If you check the crank, and it's square shaped. Use the crank. I think that's the exact same crank sound effect from Resi 1. I would not be surprised. And now there's this little thing. It looks like a switch. Will you push it? Yes. Oh. We need to put the missing cog in there. Will I push it? Yeah. And if we check over here, we got the last stone, the blue stone. So now we can access the next area of the game because now we can finally do that thing in Chief Iron's office. And with that, we're actually almost about done with this section of the game, as I just stated. Resident Evil 2 is split up into 3 sections. RPD is one of them, then there's the 2 after this. If I were to compare something, the RPD to something in Resident Evil 1, it would quite obviously be the mansion. Though, I think you're technically in the RPD for a much larger section of the game than you are the mansion in Resident Evil 1. Don't quote me on that, though, because Resident Evil 2 on the whole is just a longer game. Usually 2.5 to 3 hours, as opposed to... Well, I've done it in like an hour and a half, I think, once. But it's like a 2.5 to 3 hour game as opposed to Resident Evil 1's hour and a half usual time. And now there's a licker up here. I hate this licker because he's killed me at least 3 times, because I always forget he's here. Although I don't think he's here if you kill all the zombies, but don't quote me on that, as usual. Ow. You know what? I never noticed that stained glass window on the top of this area. Huh. Interesting. I do recall reading at one point that these backgrounds took forever to render, though, like days. Like days or weeks. It's ridiculous, but honestly, they did put a lot of details into a lot of these backgrounds, so I can understand why it did that. I don't even want to think about how long it took the Final Fantasy IX backgrounds to render. Ugh. And I'm switching out my armaments because I want to have some flame rounds and such coming up for a boss fight. Also, bring along an herb or two, just in case. In fact, I'm going to combine these two just so I can have much... Or no, I don't. Huh. Guess what I did. Oh, well. Oh, that's right. That's what I'm doing. Either way, sorry about that. It's obvious I haven't recorded this in a while. But with that, I'm going to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching. And in part 5, we're finishing up our business here at the RPD and then seeing what happens after that. See you guys then.